It happens twice. Once in your head, once in real time. First time in my life I've seen कि standing ovation होता क्या है. The more of who you are, if you do that more, your chances of success are more. Go to the place where it's really difficult to achieve something. Because when you achieve it, then it gets so difficult to replace you.
Raj Shamani is a content creator, he's an entrepreneur, he's an author. He's also someone who talks about hustle a lot. So we're going to tap into that and so many other things, and why I think an unhustle angle is actually more interesting on this episode. But make sure you hit subscribe and smash that bell icon before we go there. So you and I have been thinking of doing this for a while. I remember the first time we discussed doing it, I'm like, I'm going to ask you one question to start off with. And that's what I'm going to ask you is that, what are you trying to figure out in life?
that's I don't think anyone else have asked me this question apart from myself.
How has no one asked you this question?
No, because so I tell you, figuring out for me is not that I'm trying to figure out something. I feel figuring out is habit, is a state of mind, and I really feel that anyone who has obnoxiously big dreams or like has high ambition person, maybe out of force or out of choice, doesn't matter kaise, that person, like him or her, they are always figuring out something. They always are trying to find out their next gig. They want to achieve a certain goal. Once they hit that, they're not content with that. They want to go for next.
Yeah.
So I think that figuring out for me is habit. That how am I able to build that ambition? Okay, what I've thought for myself. And what I've thought for myself, coming to that, is it just keeps changing every once in a while. So earlier I wanted to be like, just represent India somewhere, because bachpan mein wo cricket, ghar walon bola cricket khelna, so didn't have that. So like, how do I represent India? So I was trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then I went to UN to represent India. Then it was like, okay, I want to become a creator. I want to do business. Then I want to write a bestseller. Like, just
Yeah.
every 2-3 years, there's a new thing which I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So for now, at this point, I'm really fascinated by this word unicorn. So I'm trying to figure out like, how do people build it?
Yeah.
Why there's a reason that it takes, if you look at like legacy businesses, it took them 20-30 years to build something.
Yeah.
And now they are at a position which is, let's say, truly $1 billion empire. Versus new folks coming in their 20s, in 3 years, in 5 years, they've been able to build something like this. So to me, that's very fascinating कि किसी legacy चीज का timeline कैसे reduce कर दिया किसी. And that is what I'm trying to figure out.
Which is it's a good question, right? Because when you think about it, and while obviously digital has done that for how things have grown, I feel what's also interesting is that because you can do things faster, it's also led to people being more ambitious, having more drive, really kind of getting out there and doing it. But I feel for some people, it's innately how they function. Like you always had that drive, no matter if digital tha, nahi tha, it doesn't matter, you had that. Was that you as a kid? Were you that kid who was that full drive, over into full drive, chalo kuch karte all the time?
Yeah. I think I've always been that. And I tell you, it's not about me always being that or like someone else, if they are certain way or they are this way. It has to do a lot about what kind of role models you have around you. Right? So to me, in front of me, the role model was, in my house, I was not born in a privileged family. I saw my dad going from literally like struggling days where he's incurring like 20,000-30,000 loss per month and really trying to figure out कि क्या मैं business ही continue करते रहूं कि job करूँगी, like what should I really do, to building like $1 million empire. So to me, going from like not being privileged to privileged, so that role model has been in my house. So I didn't know any other way apart from just going it extravagant. And because, so how this is a classic middle class family, okay? How it works, your parents do everything, save every penny to send you to a best school.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get the best education, so they feel education and school is the key to the success. So sab try karte. So they sent me to the best school. Now in that school, I was the least privileged one. Like my friends, like all my friends, they would come in like Audis, BMWs, Mercedes. My dad would drop me on an Activa. So I'm trying to feel like, yaar, mujhe ye chahiye. Okay. Then the next thing is like most of my friends that my sisters in my house, they're toppers. They've always been toppers, 94, 95%. I was like an average student, 50, 60% max.
Very good. Well, good job. Good job.
Right? So school, then I tried to play sports, and sports maybe I was not really good. So for me, I always thought that if you want to me, success was never mediocrity. To me, success was never that I didn't have any role model who was having like a good life and doing day-to-day job. I always had role models around me who were getting all the attention, all the money, all the success, all the appreciation which you really need. They're always at the top. So I thought कि अब यही करना है. मतलब अगर तुम्हें लाइफ में थोड़ा सा भी कुछ चाहिए तो तुम्हें आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स ही हिट करना पड़ेगा. Because I saw that happening. I saw that all the kids who were getting attention in my life, they were either rich or toppers or they were like the best sports people. So that's why like I never had, what do you say, like an average Joe role model around me. And because of that, I was like, I always admired to do something extra. And that extra, maybe because I wanted that, it became my personality.
It's interesting you say that, right? I often think back on my childhood and I'm thinking about, okay, would I be doing this right now if it wasn't for how I grew up? I came from a typical South Indian family, so half doctors, half engineers.
Okay.
Doctors stay in India, engineers go to America.
Yeah.
And so the only roots, and it's not like my parents married very young, they had me very young. So like when I was doing my kindergarten, my parents were still studying. Right, so my mom has the stories of I was crying in her lap and she's studying for her exams and stuff like that, right? And I wouldn't say that I feel the struggle for them was they were young, they were not earning that much. The family, obviously, people had different ranges of things, but at some point in time, I grew up with them, and because I grew up with them, my perspective always was, what more can I do beyond what they're doing? Because I don't want to be a doctor, because I don't want to have to do that 24/7 of saving someone's life. My father did this experiment with me once. He said that, what if someone wakes up at 3 in the morning and says, go save someone's life? And you've been awake till 12 in the night before that. I said, my first instinct would be, is there someone else who can do it? He said, you should never be a doctor. Which I thought was a great way to kind of showcase just the ethics of it, right? And so for me, it was always like finding what will I like. It was never about finding what is everyone doing. And that eventually led me to doing everything possible to find my way. But I felt that what you just said is so interesting, because you saw the I don't think it's just perception. It's saying you saw what people had and what you could gain by gaining those aspects, and that became your drive.
Yeah.
But everything comes back to childhood, interestingly, right? Everything starts from that whole point.
100%.
Were you always a confident person growing up?
No way. No. I think that's as far as I can remember, maybe 6, 7. I was always this person that I felt कि मैं बहुत कुछ बड़ा करूँगा, like some reason, okay? Like it's.
पर अंदर अंदर हो जाता है.
हाँ, अंदर ही अंदर. I still feel that, but I would never even raise a hand in class to ask a question, because I was scared of embarrassment. I still am. I think that's my biggest fear. Right? I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to do anything in private which could be a shame in public. And that always like I was be that. बहुत टाइम तक ऐसा होता था कि मैथ्स क्लास में मैं ना पहले से ही since for a week I've been practicing about something. I know that because next week this is going to be the thing. पूरा practice किया है, सब किया है. Still I was not able to raise hand and give an answer. Where I know that 100% it's A. Like I've done this for a week. I was not able to. So not confident at all. Yeah. Not confidence.
And what was the point of that change? Because what you're saying, I feel that's a driving factor for so many of us, right? We all kind of sit and say that, oh, what if what I say is wrong? I'll get embarrassed. I'll get judged. That singular fear of judgment is what stops us from doing everything which we can do. Even if you have the capability, you're like, why risk it? Right? But there's something that happens in everyone's life that where you make that switch, or you might just stick to the same path. But for most people who've been able to build confidence, been able to do something, you find that moment. Was there a moment for you when that switch happened?
I'll tell you moment, and I'll tell you what I think about it, okay? About confidence, how people get it. confidence, everybody says like you need to be internally confident, you need to start feeling it. I think all of that is bullshit. Right? Like confidence is always given to you by someone else. And that giving comes in the form of appreciation. And that's how you get confident. So you do something which is slightly better than your own standard. Other person notices it, they compliment you, then you start feeling confident. And then you do more. So for me, it was like, this was first year in my college, first semester. They said कि अगर आपको external theory exam में बैठना है, उसके लिए you have to give a presentation.
Correct.
If you can't give presentation, you won't be allowed to give that. I was like, ठीक है, करना पड़ेगा, presentation देना पड़ेगा. This was a 16-minute presentation with group of 4 people. So technically, I had a 4-minute slot to give a presentation. And they said you have to give it on a work culture in a company, pick up your best company around the world. And I made it on Google. 4-minute presentation, technically. I prepared for 30 days. Because I was so scared. I was like, wow. In fact, I was this scared. I'm on the day of presentation I'm giving. I'm walking around the class. College में कैसा presentation होता है? You're standing there, presentation है, PPT change होते हैं, people read it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not reading. I'm walking around the class because I've by heart of like learned everything. रट लिया मैंने पूरा कि क्या करना है 30 days में. And I'm walking around the class. The only reason I'm walking because I don't want to face one person at one time because I feel they'll be judging me. So I'm looking everywhere. I'm walking around. And then when I came back, 4 minutes over, I got a standing ovation in my class. First time in my life I've seen कि standing ovation होता क्या है. That's happening with me. And that was like my Shah Rukh Khan moment. He's like, yeah, this is like I'm doing this at dunya mein. Like, you know how you've seen that picture? Shah Rukh Khan standing in his balcony, people are there. So that was my moment. Everybody's clapping. It was crazy. So that gave me so much confidence that if I prepare for something, people are going to compliment. That's the only thing I got out of it.
Yeah.
It was not that I want to become a speaker. It was not that I want to become like, I don't know, I'm the best student or presenter. Kuch bhi nahi. I just got, if I prepare for something, people compliment. And if people compliment, मुझे बड़ा मजा आता है. That I get confidence. So what I did, I went to the same teacher and said, you know what? I want to do this more. I want to give another presentation. And the teacher said, you do one thing, do this in the same other class as well, so that they should know how to give presentation. I did that in second class. Again, got, like appreciation for it. So that gave me confidence that मैं presentation अच्छा देता हूँ. And I started doing it, started finding more chances, joined Toastmasters, joined ISEC, joined, like started reaching out to N number of colleges, started reaching out to my own college director. So that appreciation started giving confidence, and that I've seen it in everyone. Most of the people feel कि, this is the same thing about passion also. I feel passion is nothing, just you feeling confident about something that you do. Right? And that confidence you only get when people compliment you. So तुम घर में सोचते हो तुमने कुछ गा दिया, गाने के साथ ही you're singing, your parents notice, wow, you sing very well. You start feeling that you're the best singer in the world.
Yeah.
Right? And that becomes your passion. So constant appreciation gives you confidence, and that confidence gives you an urge to do that more. And because you do that more, you automatically get better at it.
So there's a build I have on top of what you said, right? I feel you start getting confident when you get appreciation, but the only way to sustain it is for you to get it internally.
Yeah.
Because it takes away the worry of, oh, what if this goes away? I feel that's the big worry we all, I feel as creators, and my sister said this to me, I think about sometime around June. She said, because I fear judgment a lot.
Yeah.
Like one of my biggest fears is fearing judgment of people. And she said, for someone who fears people's perspective and judgment so much, you have chosen the worst possible thing to do is to be a content creator, be out there online and do what you do.
Yeah.
And that's a question I sat down. So I do a fair bit of therapy and coaching, and I was sitting with my coach, and my coach broke it down, and she said that think about which part satisfies you the most. She said, forget passion, forget everything else. What satisfies you the most? Is it before you hit publish or after? I said, it's before. So then judgment shouldn't bother you. Why is it bothering you? So I said, okay, but I'm like, but the reason I'm creating it is for someone to watch it.
Yeah.
She's like, but you are getting satisfaction before they even watch it. And that's when I did a bit of this. And in that session, what we ran through was the fact that you have instigators for confidence.
Yeah.
And I feel that moment for you was when it started off. But for you to sustain it over the long term, at some point you became confident about yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just that balance, right? At some point, you're saying, okay, this is from external and then this is internal. And at some point, I agree with you, it can't start internally because nobody starts off being internally confident. I mean, those are very few people in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
But I feel it starts with someone and then becomes something
True.
you add on to yourself. But I love the fact that you said I want to do more of it, right? Like the fact that because you were satisfied with it, you want to do more of it, and that adds more and more and
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Yeah. So I told you, na, back to childhood. I thought the only way to stand out is being extra.
Yeah.
So like more, do extra, right? You know, here's a good frame before we move on to the next thing. I give you a good frame of content. I'm same like you. I used to fear judgment. I used to fear, and worst kind of situation like being on stage, being in front of camera. क्या ही कर रहे हैं?
Hated it.
Right? So we all are in a career of claps. The more claps we get, the better.
Yeah.
Our career graph goes, our happiness quotient goes, satisfaction, सब ऊपर जाता है. So I feel every creator after a point should move from claps to care.
Explain.
So what I meant by this, we all judge our success based on claps. We should start judging our success based on care. How much do we care about the people who are watching?
Correct.
So what happened after that point that you stop thinking about whether they like it or no. Now you start thinking about, I have given everything from the point of care that I care about my audience because they are giving me their 1 minute or they are giving me their 1 hour. एक घंटे में इतनी carefully इनको ये दे दूंगा that their care, like it wouldn't go to waste.
Yeah.
And then you're like, now I've done a good job.
Yeah.
So that gives you like a good satisfaction and you're less worried about claps.
That's so true. Because if you feel like you're providing value, that if you start caring, it's like people say, no, I'm making this content so that I give value to others, but also you're giving value to yourself because you caring about, doing something good for your audience is giving you innate satisfaction as
100%.
well. So it's as selfish as it is giving value to others. But I feel that switch can only happen is when you're secure. When you're secure, saying, okay, my life is not driven only by the clap. So that's when you switch from, I'd say, I love this analogy from claps to care. And that also, and I feel that adds to just everything from self-belief to, again, you're going back to purpose, going back to passion, because that feels less superficial, feels less like, you're not just doing it ki or popular ho jaunga. You're doing it because, okay, this actually has impact. I'm seeing it on ground. I'm seeing it happen there. Did at some point as a creator feel like, and you had different, I've seen you, I remember the first time I met you was many years ago. There was a panel discussion which I was moderating. There was you, there was Nick, there was Prajakta, there was Malika Dua, and this is like age before even the creator economy was a word. This is when that was the thing.
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah, pre-pandemic, all of that stuff. And I remember that you came in and there was a person with a camera with you, and you were doing like vlogs at that time, and like I think a bunch of us had watched Gary Vee, but beyond that we hadn't done that. I want to ask you that when you look at your journey so far across being creator and now author and now the entrepreneur side which you're building out, do you feel at some point you said, okay, this is what I'm doing and for the next 5-10 years? Because you've also evolved, like you said, you always keep going through that thing. Have you figured what your evolution is for the next 5 odd years?
No. I there's a simple way to do it, okay? I want to be best at what I can do. And I truly believe that there's a way to achieve excellence. वो कैसे होगा, क्या होगा, I don't know. But there is some way which I don't know yet. So I can be the best at what I am. And to do that, all you have to just find out where can you find an opportunity which can pay your bills? What is that you can do which is your strength so that the world needs it? And third is, are you adding something to someone's life, whether in terms of monetary benefits or mindset benefit? वो ठीक है. इन 3 चीज़ों को combination करके just keep doing the next big thing, whatever it is. It can be writing a book. It can be about being an entrepreneur. It can be about being a coach, being a teacher, being a speaker, being a content creator. कुछ भी हो सकता है. It's not that I'm not fussy about क्या करना है. मैं
5 year plan क्या है?
5 year plan क्या है, 10 year plan नहीं पता, like अगले साल क्या करना है नहीं पता. It's just one goal at a time. Right now goal is write a book. That's it. Let's just write the best book. वो हो गया, उसके बाद देखेंगे ना क्या करना है.
Unicorn.
Yeah, like unicorn. अब बन जाएगा फिर सोचेंगे ना क्या करना है. Like it's so, I kind of envy people who know what they're gonna do for next 10 years. Because it's so clear. Like then they can backward engineer everything. I can't. I don't know. You know, so I attended a branding class. Okay, this was in Boston. Personal branding, marketing. मैं सोचा कि यार, let's try to take things bigger. And this was done by a Harvard professor. And he said, every time you're making even one piece of content, you should ask yourself a question. What does Raj Shamani look like in 2025? What does Raj Shamani look like in 2024? Okay, this is how he started class. And I was like, I still don't have an answer.
I don't have an answer.
Do you have an answer? Do you know like what is Varun Duggi looks like in...
No, I mean, weirdly enough, I think that the only time I had that plan was when that plan went fully sideways. So 2020 Jan, 2019 November, December, I had that plan. I was very clear what I was doing. I was in a corporate space. I was growing in that direction. I was building something that was global. I was going to do that as a career. Then the world had other plans. COVID had other plans, right? So I feel that when you say that, I don't think we should envy anybody who has a 5-10 year plan, because there's this saying, no, that you might have plans for life, but life always has other plans.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens. You got to be able to kind of have flexibility and be open to opportunities. Like I started off as an audio creator and I saw opportunity in, let's say, in Instagram or in a YouTube or in something, or in writing a book. And you take chances with those things. And if you're not rigid about the path, like you said, like you're moving from point to point, you're not saying that's the end point. You're just saying, you're kind of navigating it. It's like, in a board game, you're rolling the dice and seeing, okay, kahan leke ja raha hai. And it's far less pressure also, no? Because I don't think you feel that pressure of, oh my God, that's the goal. Like,
No. I'm very extra worried or careful about the next thing which I'm doing, but not like 10 years wala Raj ko kya lagega. I was like, no, all that I don't think. I don't even know. And I think people should not even feel like that, because I genuinely believe there's no end line. Okay, this I've come to a realization after reading endless books, after doing things. And though I'm like very young, but I've been doing things since 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, like last 10 years. I've realized कि end तो है ही नहीं. Like there's no end. You can't have a number that, hey, I'll stop earning after making X number of lakhs or crores. I'll stop achieving goals after making my company reach this. There's no end. कोई end ही नहीं है. So when there's no end, why do you start with an end? And I always used to start with an end. I was like this. मैं goal में भी ऐसे करता था. So now what I've done is, there's a different framework. Is if you have an exact plan for your unthinkable dream, that dream is not unthinkable. Then it's not like good dream to have.
So I have a flip on that. I realized after selling my company that didn't give me the kind of satisfaction that I thought it would. And what gave me satisfaction was the people and everything else and how we did it. So somehow the dreams became smaller. And there are different cases, right? Like you can have unimaginable dreams.
I would say.
For me, my dream is smaller in the sense that I don't want, people say, do you want a private jet? Like, no, it's nahi karna. That's like a terrible expense. Because I don't think I ever wanted it.
Yeah.
Like the only reason I ever wanted a car in life was because I could play music in it. My dream car was a Honda City, right? So it's like I've never had that bigger dream in that sense. For me, it's always like I want to do stuff I'm curious about. But when you give yourself that kind of landscape, like you're saying, and which brings me to my favorite point with you, is that then aren't you always driven by hustle? Which is a chat we had off the pod many times. I remember the tweet you put out on 26 hours in a day. And I responded saying, why don't you take a pause? And because with endless ambition comes endless drive.
Yeah.
And endless drive comes that push to hustle 24/7.
Yeah, I
So
tell you where it goes wrong. Okay? So you want to continue?
no,
Or
no,
so- I tell you where it goes wrong. When you have a timeline dead end. Like when you say that, let's say, for example, you say you wanna have 1 million followers,
yeah,
right? You will pressure yourself and that drive and like that hustle part of you, you'll be doing injustice when you'll be like, मुझे million चाहिए 6 महीने में,
hmm.
right? मुझे million चाहिए 1 साल में, right? That's where it goes wrong.
Yeah,
Why? That's what the bigger question. I have a timeline to put out to efforts, not to the result. So I'd say that, for example, I know for a fact that, so let's say every 100 videos I put, one video gets viral. So, and every viral video I put out, I gain 10,000 followers. So now I know that in order to get 100,000 followers, all I need to put out is 100 into 10, 1,000 videos. अगर मैं रोज 3 वीडियो डालता हूँ तो एक साल में 1,000 वीडियोस हो जाएंगे. That is what I calculate and put in a deadline to it, right? I don't have कि एक साल में मुझे million followers चाहिए, एक साल में मुझे 100K followers चाहिए, because that deadline is, I feel that's what put pressures on you. So if you ask me like right now unicorn, or you ask me like a bestseller book, इसके लिए कोई deadline नहीं है. करना था, ऐसे होता है, कर देंगे.
So you're putting a deadline to the system and not necessarily to the result.
Yeah, I don't have a deadline to result. Any result which at least for the next unthinkable dream which I have.
Yeah.
Obviously that dream has been broken down to the next step. Next step has a deadline कि यार मुझे इसके लिए, for example, giving an example, I have to come up with a product market fit. So that product market fit, first product market fit का deadline है 3 months के अंदर आना है. वो नहीं होगा तो फिर मैं next 3 months पे आऊँगा. So that is okay. But just pressuring myself day in and day out, यार 3 महीने निकल गए, मुझे तो 3 साल में यूनिकॉर्न बनाना था. अब क्या करूँगा, अब क्या करूँ? That is not there. And that's where I think people feel flat on their face, because most of the people want materialistic things to show it to themselves or the society or their parents or where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And I don't have any of that.
No, I asked you this question also because, I come from a time before the term unicorn was used.
Okay.
So when we started building Glitch, we didn't even think we were building a business. We quit our jobs, said we'll do something online. It was literally the thing. The term unicorn came much later. The whole point of like even understanding what valuations meant, what venture capital is, all that stuff. So even like our first investor became our investor by virtue of saying, do you need investment? And like, okay, we can do that also. So we built a business the old school way, how a business is built. So it was never about, okay, this is what we have to do. We're like, every year, are we doing enough stuff? What do we change about the business? What do we evolve? And so when I look at this space, and we spoke about the start, right? We spoke about the whole unicorn, the way things move faster, is sometimes it takes some time for me to look at, okay, one second, there are great things with it, but there are also some things which come with it which can also push you to, like you said, give yourself a deadline, and then you are crushing yourself to the deadline, not to the actual thing you're building. And that's why you see so many of these failing. You also speak to, and I found that you are supremely curious about the entrepreneur mindset.
Yeah.
Right? You speak to all of, and try to figure out and really dig into how their systems work. Have you seen that the way it's maybe people take the wrong things out of how they build, the ones who are really successful? People say, oh, they're working like this, so they're doing this.
Yeah.
Versus what they actually do to become successful. Do you think there's a difference there?
Oh, yes. Oh, 100%. The perceived value or the perceived, I don't know, image which people get out of XYZ role models is so different than the reality. It's insane. Because there's a bias, right? You and me, we are biased.
Yeah.
We only want to believe things which you want to believe.
Yeah.
You would, same entrepreneur, you would look at him and be like, yaar, wo Saturday, Sunday badminton khelta hai, apni life must ji raha hai.
Yeah.
That's the way to live about it. That's how things are built.
Yeah.
I would look at the same guy and be like, boss, Monday to wo raat ko 3 baje tak kaam kar raha hai. Like that's his life, right? So we all are biased because based on our experience or based on what has worked for us in past, we try to just take out those characteristics only from people.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes wrong. And everybody is built in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, but you would only judge them based on what you feel right. And that's so wrong.
Yeah.
That is wrong. And that's the whole idea of why I want to talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. Like, I try to challenge myself and take their opinion in. Like, if you look at my conversations, I'm trying to take in a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm like, हाँ यार ये भी तो सेंस करती है, ये भी तो सेंस करती है, ये भी सेंस करती है, right? I never believed in the idea of, you know, constantly reminding yourself about the book you have read. I was like, एक पढ़ ली खत्म हो गया, next chapter पे जाओ, next book पे जाओ, third book पे जाओ, fourth book पे जाओ, right? You came in on my podcast and you told me that, hey, I follow this. ये मुझे constant बताता रहता है कि ये तुमने पढ़ा, तो like acts as a good reminder.
Yeah.
I took that in and I feel that's so good.
Yeah.
Because now I have certain principles to live by about certain things, and I think I have gotten to believe certain things that I used to anyway believe, but now the
validated.
conviction बहुत strong हो गया है.
Yeah.
So ऐसे में हर चीज़ से कुछ ना कुछ लेता रहता हूँ. So it's all about taking it. And I feel लोग गलत लेते हैं. Like सभी गलत उठा रहे हैं.
Yeah, so no, like even when I remember when you put that, I brought up that tweet because I know that you and I had a separate chat about that as well. And I feel that what you were trying to say is that, you need to put in that extra effort. And I feel at different ages, you put in different amounts of effort and you need to kind of look at it in that sense of the word. But the problem I often find with social media is nuance. There's a slight nuance, right? What is the context in which you said it?
Yeah.
How have you said it goes away.
Yeah.
And what also ends up happening is people take it very verbatim.
Yep.
And then what ends up happening is you're having to explain yourself. And then you're like, why should I explain myself? This is my point of view. This is how I want to live my life. But if I had to ask you today, what is hustle for you? What does that mean?
It's a state of mind. It's a habit. Same thing. Hustle. I tell you how it started. How hustle.
How did it start?
Okay, how did it start? I thought hustle is super cool.
Sounds cool also.
Sounds cool. I was like, जितने लोग दुनिया में हासिल कर रहे हैं वो बहुत cool है. Because I used to watch people like Richard Branson, Gary Vee, Elon Musk. They are all a hustle evangelist.
Yeah.
Right? They all, ये बहुत बंदा cool है. Richard Branson must cool life जीता है. Necker Island पे जाके भी वो hustle की बात करता है. You have to work.
Yeah.
So I am admiring his island life, but I know that he's talking about hustle, right?
Yeah.
So I felt for the longest time hustle is cool. I started getting deeper into it. So then when you start looking at more content, सब चीज़ें, right? तो actual meaning, if you ask me hustle का, मुझे भी ऐसा लगता है कि hustle is the way to, is my way to reach the destination which I feel is cool. So I'm always trying to chase that destination. Yeah. And because I've done this over the years, I've fallen in love with this chase. So I feel that ये जो chase है ना, ये hustle है, and I start loving it. It's not, I genuinely not mean to say that कि everybody should do it. Toxic hustle culture क्या है? Untoxic क्या है? I don't know because I've not read enough about it. I don't know because I've not seen it from other people's lenses.
Yeah.
I don't know about it, and I'm very, very unempathetic about the word itself because I've not gotten into someone else's shoes who's been forced to do that. Right? So to me, it's just, यार ये चीज़ चाहिए, इसको करने के लिए बाकी सब लोगों ने हासिल किया है, तो मुझे भी करना पड़ेगा. And that process, that chase, to me has become cool, and that's what I want to do it. That's why I love it. So to me, that chase is hustle. And again, that chase also, I feel you can only keep doing it if you truly are aligning and you're into your flow state.
Yeah.
And that flow state is right up your alley, but little challenging.
Yeah.
That's the thing. उन दोनों के बीच में balance होता है, तो करते जाते हैं.
Yeah. What you said in the last part, right? And that's something we don't think about enough, is that if you're innately in flow with something, which means you're feeling that sense of purpose doing something, and that's allowing you to, let's say, work even longer hours. Like, there have been times have I done all-nighters. Like, I remember when I first started off in MTV and channel, you'd do like 15-hour, 18-hour shifts on shoots, and sometimes like 3-4 days not sleep. But you were in that zone, you were doing it. At no point did we feel tired. When you finished that shoot, you came back home, you would be like, you would settle down, it would all hit you. But I don't feel any of us felt the drain. And I feel it happens when you take away the boundary, like you said, right? If somebody is not chosen to work that way, and they feel pushed to do that way, is when you actually feel it, because hustle innately is jugaad.
Yeah, true.
I always loved jugaad as the word. I'm like, it gives it enough far.
fun innovation,
Because that's what it is.
yeah.
Na? Like, can you get a weekend off by working hard for 5 days a week? That is jugaad, right? Like, I
Yeah.
remember I used to do that. I used to work for 3-4 days in a row in my early days, and then tell the department coordinator in channel me saying, मैं गोवा जा रहा हूँ 2 दिन के लिए. All deliverables are done. Phone नहीं उठाऊंगा, right? And go and come back. And that was my way to de-stress. And over time, as I grew, I realized there were better ways to do it. Like, you can just say that sometimes you can just say in the night if someone calls you at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. saying, can this wait till morning? Because nobody asks.
Yeah.
Everybody assumes you can do that. And so over time, you build those systems. But most importantly, what you said, it's that flow state. If you don't look at, if you're working and you don't know that flow state and you're allowing yourself to go there, that's toxic hustle. You're moving towards that. And if you're a leader and you don't realize that's what you're doing to your team, then you're facilitating it.
Yep.
But I think at the end of the day, that flow is so important to understand and and relate.
In my team, nobody ever has to think twice before taking a vacation. They all know these are the tasks they need to achieve. Nobody has any timeline. ऐसा है कि भाई सबको पता है month में इतना जाना चाहिए.
Correct.
That's it. Some people work, they come like there's my PA, project manager. Okay, she comes at 11 and then she switches off at 6 p.m. Okay, she's done. Apart from that, then my videographer, he loves working at night. So he would come at 9 p.m. and work till 3 a.m. and then go. Then my manager, he feels that कि मैं 4-5 दिन काम कर लेता हूँ, आखिरी वीक मैं पूरे दिन छुट्टी करूँगा. Right now he's in Dubai. Right? So it's like the hustle in my team itself, everybody has a different meaning of it. So क्योंकि जो रात को काम कर रहा है, रात भर एडिट कर रहा है, उसका भाई मैं कितना हासिल कर रहा हूँ. Somebody who's waking up, choosing is 8 बजे उठ के 9 बजे जाना पड़ता है, right? उसके लिए वो हासिल. So हर किसी के लिए अलग है, but everybody is doing their own timeline. So nobody is pushing anyone. Nobody. It's just everybody is enjoying what they're doing, and they are all doing it their timelines. And that's what I feel hustle should be for everyone. And to me also, why I say I love working, I love doing this hustle, because look at the life we have been able to build in last 10 years. Right now, what we are doing is de-stressing. Like बात कर रहे हैं ना, but that's our life, that's our work.
Yeah.
So this is hustle right now, which we're doing, but technically this is two friends having fun.
Yeah.
So I think if you can build your life in 3 to 4 years in a way where the thing that helps you de-stress becomes your main hustle, that's like the nirvana which you've achieved in life. And that's what I feel right now is happening with me. So that's why I keep saying these things. I love working more because क्या ये दिन भर करा लो यार.
You also do that on Twitter. Let me be honest. You do that on Twitter because you're throwing stuff out there and see how people react. I think a lot of times you're doing that also.
No. I just love being myself, and I try to put that out. Obviously, context is missing क्योंकि 140 में कितना ही कर दोगे context. Exactly. But it's fun. I love this. I love what I'm doing right now.
I love the flexibility aspect you spoke about, because I feel that's so like everybody has a way of functioning which is optimal for them. And if you can build a system in an organization or in any form of functioning which almost gives you the ability to think everybody functions in their thing, but you have a system that allows them all to kind of find their own states of flow and function together, that is ideal. I feel for some people what ends up changing is, let's say for instance that people are married, they have kids, you want to be home at a certain time. That complicates that scenario. In some ways you want to do it. I was recently watching an interview of Rhett and Link, the US-based creators who run Mythical. And they said they both had kids by the time they became creators a decade ago. And they would always have this scenario about saying, oh, how will I can't not be there for dinner every day. And every time they were there, they would feel guilty about it. And oftentimes that guilt also makes you think about it in that sense. And so they built a system. The system they built was every Thursday, they'll be late. We'll be there at home for dinner every day except for Thursday. And Thursday will be late. So it's like, okay, that night is a long night for sure, is what they built. I feel that if you have the flexibility to build that system, then it makes it so much more interesting. And you can find a way to get that. That's also jugaad. Na? They found a jugaad. They found jugaad to come in between there.
और एक चीज होता है ना, बस This I learned it somewhere. I don't know. I saw it on some YouTube video or something. किसी startup का ही देख रहा था मैं. Where in a podcast the guy says that if you build your systems and processes based on time, then you're always trying to build a culture which might fit people, might not fit. So always build your system as per task. Then you kind of fit in properly. तो task based culture होना चाहिए, time based culture नहीं होना चाहिए. I like that a lot. Might work for some people, might not work for some people, but I liked it. But that's why if you look at like most of the Silicon Valley startups, their offices
It's very
are open.
coder thought process. No? It's very design-led,
Yeah,
coder-led
design, right?
thought process. Yeah.
And their offices are open 24/7.
Yeah.
लोग अपने टाइम पे आते हैं, अपने टाइम पे जाते हैं, वो अपना काम करके. So this is very task based. I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how sustainable that is because I've not run like a very large company yet. So maybe my opinion will change after a point. And also because the fact that I have flexibility of having no responsibility of family, I don't have a wife, I don't have kids. तो उसके लिए भी हो सकता है. 5 years later, maybe I'll have a different opinion.
I feel that works in certain industries. I mean, it might not, for instance, work in manufacturing, for instance, right? It'll definitely work in when you're doing, let's say, I mean, the tech industry is where you can actually do that, like legitimately do that. Not, I think the creator space you can totally do that. But to set whatever kind of system, it all comes down to you being clear about what you want to do and how you want to feel while doing it.
Yeah. Wow.
And do you have a sense of how you find clarity about things when you set, because what you said as a system for your team is a great system. The question is, how is it scalable? Which is something you only realize as it scales up.
As the scale comes, yeah.
But I think that's an apt way to function for what you do. But what do you do to find clarity, especially points of like setting these things? Or do you just let it?
I let it flow. In fact, I have a very simple rule for clarity. I seek clarity out of people who are more clear. Like simple rule, right? It's I will get clarity from my team. मैं टीम से बोलूँगा कि यार एक बात बताओ, ऐसा क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? And I don't know whether it's a good thing or no, but I keep comparing myself with someone else. I'll be like, यार वरुण डुग्गी राला ऐसा कर रहा है, तो अपन क्यों नहीं कर पा रहे? You know, like I'll ask them, and they come up with their ideas. Okay, somebody said that, hey, you know what? I'll tell you recently. So I told them कि okay, Tanmay Bhatt is doing this, Gary Vee is doing this, Ankur Warikoo is doing this. सबका अलग अलग वो है, तो हम लोग ऐसे क्यों नहीं कर पा रहे? And one of my team members said, hey, you know what? I feel our culture, like we don't have a culture. We have very like freedom. So that freedom is becoming carelessness. Okay, I love the point. I was like, yeah, this is spot on. We don't have certain guidelines, certain culture, code of conduct to follow. So that's what I was like, okay. And then it became an obsession. It happened like 3 months ago. It became an obsession since last 3 months. Every conversation I'm having with people, it's around how did you build a culture in your organization. So I'm asking these people only. I'm asking Ankur, I'm asking Piyush Bansal, I'm asking like Ashish Mohapatra, ये कैसे करते हो, क्या करते हो? So I get a lot of clarity from other people who I feel they're more, they've achieved it way better than me, and from my own team, because they give me clarity.
So what was the insight you got from all of them? What did you put together and say, okay, this is what I'm going to use?
Okay, so there are 3 major points. Okay, one is you don't have to adapt yourself and try to be someone else.
True.
Okay, like because there are some leaders who believe that they'll sit in one corner office and they'll try to do every work themselves. There are some leaders who will sit right in front of middle of the team and be like, yahin se sab log kaam karenge, right? So alag. So you choose what is your style. Don't try to change that, because the more of what you do, the more of who you are, if you do that more, your chances of success are more. So that was first. कि पहले तो what is my style? कि अगर मुझसे नहीं बनता सुबह 7 बजे उठना, तो कोई सेंस ही नहीं 8 बजे ऑफिस खोलेगा. That's like a very spot on. That was first. Second, which I found out very, very, very important. Setting rules might not be important, but setting principles is very important. कि these are the organization principles. यहाँ पे काम कम करना पड़ेगा, ज़्यादा करना पड़ेगा, day 1 पे बता दो. ये checklist के through काम करना पड़ेगा कि नहीं करना पड़ेगा, day 1 पे बता दो. So like just having that clarity of telling everybody that these are the principles which we believe in. We believe that people first. or we believe organization first. We believe that sales first, or we believe brand first. Like whatever you believe in, वो rule set कर दो. So that's the second thing which I got. And the third and the most important thing which I really like is like a spot on rule. वो culture hypothetical नहीं है. It's like a spot on, which I learned from off business. They said that whenever there's a medical emergency in the team, किसी के साथ भी, everybody in the team contributes. So they were like, medical policy is the policy that everybody has to be standing for each other. To me, that was like very good. Ki, okay, let's have. I never thought to have a medical policy because see, I'm like 26. Okay, I just don't. I don't know कि ये सब कैसे work रहा है. मैं खुद का insurance अभी sort कर रहा हूँ, right? So I don't know how this works. So I felt कि okay, now the next set of team is gonna be that everybody should have an insurance, everybody should have a medical policy, and above and beyond उसका जो भी लगेगा for any family emergency, everybody in the team will contribute to it. That's a straight up rule I'm gonna set up. Like ये straight up rule है ही है. अच्छा लगता है तो काम करो, नहीं लगता है तो पहले दिन पे ऑफर लेटर पे लिख के दे दो. So to me, these were the like top 3 things which I really liked.
And they're great pillars to work on top of, right? Because I mean, especially the medical one, because you often don't think about it. You don't think that's an obvious one, but only when it kind of happens do you realize, okay, this is what we have to kind of do. I also asked you this because at some level, there's this whole thing, right? Is that there was a time when people looked up at people. Today they look up at founders, they look up at entrepreneurs. They're the rock stars of today.
Yeah.
They used to be like, it used to be actors, everything else. Today entrepreneurs are that. And it's important to learn these aspects from all of them. Not just, oh my God, they got like this valuation, or oh, this is the car they have. But you say, okay, this is how they've been able to build this.
Yeah.
This is how they've dealt with people. In whichever way. And sometimes you also learn the good and the bad from both things, right? And what you also kind of learn is the best entrepreneurs over time figure how to balance everything. Because they're not just doing what they do in their company. Some of them will have philanthropy. They'll want to contribute. Some of them will become investors on the side. They'll do all of that. And when you see those stories, you realize that, okay, one second, the core of everything which they do is that they don't try to be the smartest people in the room, but they have extreme balance.
Yeah.
And they know how to clearly take that last call.
Oh yes. I'll give you good insight. Okay. Before that, on the culture part, which I really loved from Ashish Mahapatra of Business. Okay, he said he looks at biggest of the biggest nations in the world. He's like, America इतना progressive क्यों इतना आगे क्यों है? क्योंकि America is built on 3 things: liberty, equality, and fraternity. वो मैंने मेरी organization में डाला. This is the principle. I loved this. He's like, liberty, मतलब everybody should be free to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. He's like, if tomorrow somebody has to change a department and feels like कि मैं इस department में खुश नहीं, मैं आया तो था आपके लिए coder बनने के लिए, कि मुझे लगता है मैं sales में ज़्यादा अच्छा कर रहा हूँ. He's like, okay, go ahead. Okay, so liberty. Then was like equality, कि सब equal है, uniformity. Right? And then third was fraternity. Fraternity, they have a rule that if anybody is traveling to any of their employees or team members, cities, hometowns, right? They have to stay in their houses. Fraternity, brothers कैसे रहते हैं कि बाहर रहेंगे कि नहीं? So I loved the principle. So I think that's also culture which like people should pick up. And like we had a long conversation on that. I saw it in some movie, some series or some movie. So the guy asks a billionaire, "You're a billionaire, okay, and you have 7 different companies in 7 continents of the world, okay. So you're a billionaire in 7 different continents, okay. Like everywhere, every company is more than $1 billion, and you have made that, right? So how do you manage all of this? मुझसे तो मेरा काम नहीं होता, मतलब मैं तो normal नहीं कर सकता. How do you? Because you know that your one decision can make or break everything for you.
Yeah.
Like was 7 continents. I have 7 people who are giving me the exact picture in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And all my job is to say yes or no. I only answer in yes or no. I don't take decisions. I don't plan. I don't strategize.
Yeah.
So I think most of the entrepreneurs have realized this.
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, the ability to take hard call and then standing up for it, whether it's a negative call, so taking a bullet, it's a positive call, then also standing up is like, okay, let's do it. We have done it together. That makes you that takes you from good to great entrepreneur.
And that also shows the fact that you are not trying to hold on to everything. Right?
Yeah.
The tendency is that if you're building something, if you're doing something, anything you do is that, oh, this is mine. This is how I will do it. I'll hold on to it. The more you learn to let go and say, no, one second, this is about the company. It's not about me. This is about what the team needs. It's not. Once you move towards, it's not about me. It becomes easier for you to let go. Will there be mistakes? Yes. Will there be things that'll go sideways? Yes. But everybody has ownership.
Yep.
Nobody is overloaded. And there was this saying, I forgot who said it. He said that the most important part of being an entrepreneur is to over time make yourself redundant.
Yeah.
Like that was our focus always. Like eventually at some point, the day we will quit is the day if I step out of the business, will it function exactly the way it has to and grow exactly the way it has to? And the answer was yes. And that's when we all quit.
Exactly.
But that comes from also a sense of like total self, like you need to be very centered as a person and not worry about, oh, will my importance go away? Because that's the worry, right? At some point, founder mentality also is that, boss, you want to be you want to be that important person. You can't take that away. It's the fact that you really crave that.
I used to often say this, that humans, we all need something or someone to blame onto. Okay. So if you feel that you can become this person who can take blame for on everyone's behalf, and set right rules that this is the blame which is okay and this is the blame which is not okay, that's why you truly become an entrepreneur. Because what you do at the end of the day as, let's say, a founder or the CEO, you're just taking everybody's complaint with like, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, ये हो गया ना.
People only come with problems. They won't come with
like, give another shot. ठीक है, ये हो गया ना, give another shot. And then sometimes like, this is not acceptable. So you set clear boundaries, and then you always take it, ठीक है, I'll take the blame for you. In front of the board, I'll stand. ठीक है. My sales team goofed up, it's okay. My marketing team goofed up, my operations goofed up, it's okay. So you take the blame. So if you're truly you want to become an entrepreneur, have this ability to take a blame. If you're the person who blames other people, trust me, you're not there yet. You need to go to founder's mentality.
Do you believe manifesting also really helps? Like you're saying, okay, you're visualizing, this is what. Because you're also jumping off, right? At least often there's this whole thing about like you're jumping off and figuring out, to use your term, you're figuring out how this can be built. And that requires you to say, okay, this is how it will end up looking to some extent.
100%.
You're jumping off and then you're stitching the parachute, right? You're doing that whole part.
No, 100%. I thought, like, before, right, when I'm building my, like, when I'm actually wearing that my suit, right? उस time पे मैंने decide कर लिया कि मैं कैसा jump करूँगा और क्या दिखूँगा और मेरे expressions क्या होने वाले. Like, it happens first in your, Michael Jordan said it, right? Who said it? Like, it happens twice. Once in your head, once in real time. So I'm a big believer of that. Hardcore. I feel in terms of speeches, in terms of podcasts, in terms of businesses, in terms of book, everything, there has been a picture in my mind कि ऐसा होगा और वैसे ही करना है. बहुत चीजें होती है, बहुत चीजें नहीं होती है, but always. And I think 90% of the time it works out. Because when you truly want, right? Because you know then. So you know how much effort to put in. So you know कि ये ऐसा ideal scenario होने वाला है. I want this ideal scenario, and then I need to do this by this date. If I do it, this will happen. And by that date, if you're not fully prepared, you know that it's going to go far. So your ideal scenario also changes. कि यार बस ठीक है, you get in your defense mode, like इतना ही हो जाए चलेगा. So I think it always happens twice. 100% without a doubt.
What are you manifesting right now? What are you saying? Okay, before the book, I'm guessing you manifested, okay, this is going to be a bestseller. Which it is. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What are you manifesting right now?
Right now? Just my startup to be crazy. Like right now, manifesting. So, you know, I always had this term, I'm a big movie buff. So movie मेरा Avengers में बोलता है Avengers Assemble. So I'm in that mode. So I'm manifesting. My team is my Avengers. And I want to get like the best team.
You're waiting for your Loki to come.
Like no, not Loki to come. But I'm waiting like, so in my head, I'm just like Avengers assemble, and I want my best team to come together and just start doing things. And I've started doing it. I've gotten 4 pieces right. I have to just get 3 more pieces right.
Yeah.
So right now that's what I'm manifesting. कि ये ऐसे दिखेंगे. And in my head, for real, it's funny. If my leadership team is watching this, they'll think I'm some crack, right? I know that ये Iron Man होने वाला है, ये Hulk होने वाला है, ये Hawkeye होने वाला है.
You're giving people personalities and
Yeah, like right after hiring them, doing the final call, I have this. Oh, this is the person who's gonna be like Iron Man, arrogant but excellent. Right? This is the person who's gonna build the team together. This is the person who'll have extreme phases. Like I'm like Binaro, so it's good.
What's the best piece of advice you ever gotten?
Best piece of advice
Yeah.
you got on? That's for my dad. My dad said, this was back then when I was in school, and मेरे school में ना basketball court ही नहीं था. So they built a basketball court. Because they built it, they wanted a team.
Yeah.
Right? So they picked up 12 people. He's like, we'll make you stay back after the school for 1 hour, teach you how to train you to become a basketball player, and then we'll take you to represent a school out there. Right? I went to my dad and said that, Dad, you know what? Let me join basketball. Because my case was like, best case scenario, I'll represent school. Like that's worst case scenario, I'll represent school because there are only 12 people. Like that's the best part. So I get to play, and I wanted to I was finding ways to skip school, find my little relevance somewhere.
Yeah.
And dad said, क्या cricket खेलना basketball तुझे पता भी है, देखता भी है. I was like, no, I've never seen basketball. I don't know. I didn't know Michael Jordan, or I didn't know LeBron. I don't know who were the players back then. No clue. No idea about basketball. Never seen it in my life. I've just heard about basketball as a game where there's a court, people put ball. No idea how it works. So that's like, when you have no idea, you don't have fascination, you don't have an ambition, why do you want to do that? Play cricket, because you keep watching cricket. You're a cricket buff. And I said, cricket has so much competition, I won't even be able to get batting. Like, there's no chance that I'm getting to bat even, because seniors are there, then there are good juniors, and then people play outside of the club, right? And then he said something very good, which I think is my primary for base foundation for business and everything. He said that go to the place where it's really difficult to achieve something. Because when you achieve it, then it gets so difficult to replace you. So harder to get in, harder to exit. Easy to get in, easy to exit. So if you want to become whoever you want to become, go to the places where there are endless problems. You know that you can't win, because in that process, even if you don't win, you try to build yourself in that person, that outside of that world, you'll win it. So it's like, तुझे अगर cricket में खेलना है, so you'll have to work on your health, your stamina, your techniques. You have to learn how to work in a team. Best case scenario, like worst case scenario. Okay. Worst case scenario, you won't be able to play, but you will become a better human being. And here, because it's easy to get in, day one say you will be like shooting. You'll build an arrogance. Be like, sab to easy hota life mein, it's chill. So I think that was the best advice which I got. Try to find and go to industries or go to places where there are endless problems. It's so difficult to get in. Because if you can crack the code there, then nobody can beat you.
It's also a great place to learn. I think it's a
that's
fabulous piece of advice, because you learn so much by going into spaces with that competition, with that amount of, and I love the fact that he said there's also, you learn how to work in a team, because you will realize you can't do it by yourself. That you will need other people to do this with.
He told me that the best skill in a country like India is how to stand out in a competition. If you can do that in 8th class, you won it. And that makes so much sense, because we are a country of numbers.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing we need to learn how to be.
Yeah.
Right? It's hardest is to get in the best college here. Hardest is to get like a job here. I was reading a stat, right? Less than 2% are the chances for you to get like a railway clerk's job.
Yeah.
Right? So we are in a country of numbers. So you need, at no matter which level you are, you need to learn how to eradicate the competition.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, I think that's brilliant.
And I have to ask you this question, because I'm intrigued to know. How do you take a pause?
My pauses are movies consumption.
Hmm.
Okay, I watch podcasts, I watch series, I watch movies. I think that's my pause.
Yeah.
Like I love it. There used to be time before pandemic. Every Friday, I'll go watch a movie.
In theater, yeah.
Like and I was excited for it. Like to me, that was pause, and
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Even today, there are certain series. Now, to like I watch anything and everything.
Yeah.
But there are certain things which I can't miss. No matter how busy I am, I know that Monday morning 6 a.m. House of Dragons का episode आएगा तो देखना ही है, like that. So I think that's pause for me. That gives me a sense of everything else has stopped around me. All I need to do is this. And it can be anything. Yeah, like it can be worst flop Bollywood movies as well. And it can
They're
be
the best.
right, and it can be super hit shows with the world is excited, like with the world excited about as well. So that's pause for me. I love that. I think I cannot sit idle, and that's something which I feel it's an advantage and a disadvantage. So I really want to learn that. I can't meditate. I can't do that. Every time I've tried to sit idle with myself, what I've done
Struggle
is
with it.
I've struggled. There's a big whiteboard in my room, right? So I start writing something. So I've just come to a piece that this is my way of meditation, just letting things out.
Yeah.
So pause मेरे लिए सिर्फ वही होता है कि every time I'm in my element, and that element when everything stops is consumption.
And there's one thing we started to ask every guest to kind of close every episode off is that is there a specific track or any form of music that really gets you into that whole, that you're in a rest state? Is there anything which really vibes with you that way?
Which gets me to rest. Say.
Yeah, which is like, when you're it's like the pause state of mind. Is there anything, a singular music track or anything specific?
Indie music gets me to that. Say. Like I am a huge indie lover. In fact, like if you open my phone on Spotify, on YouTube, the first thing is like indie playlist, the new indie song. I just love that. I love when, and there are so many like Prateek Kuhar. Yeah, there's a good new guy called Dikshant, Anuv Jain.
Yeah.
These are the people I love. Like these are the tracks. And I go hardcore. You know, sometimes I'm listening to ghazals. I'm listening to like Rahat Fateh Ali Khan. Like, so I think that those are the tracks. There's one song specifically which makes me very happy and pause as well. It's song Zinda by Lutera. There's a movie called Lutera.
Yeah.
So I love that. उसमें क्योंकि
I remember that song. Yeah.
there's a line says that जितना कुछ और मांगना बाकी नहीं, जितना मिला काफी है, something like that.
Yeah.
So I just love that line कि हाँ यार, like you know, this makes you grateful, this makes you pause.
Thank you so much for doing this, man. This was fun. This has been a chat about many things, but also there's so much learning for everyone listening and watching in as well. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on Take a Pause.
Thank you so much for calling me here. Thank you for asking me questions which I never answer. And this is one of the calmest podcasts I've done. Like I'm usually like very bouncy.
That's the vibe. That is the vibe. I'm just transferring that energy from.
Exactly. You give that energy like, Raj, you have to sit on that place.
Shanti
sit at that place. Good. No, thanks for doing this.